Staking Awards. Thanks so much for coming to the summit. The first question is, what brings Finoa to the summit? Are you guys here to shill your project or to pick up all the merch, or what brings you here?
Yeah, the merch is definitely important.
Yeah.
I think that, well, first of all, we are offering institutional grade staking services to our customers.
Right.
Both from experienced staking providers such as Blockdeem and Figma and Correspond. We also do run our own nodes.
Okay.
So obviously the staking summit is important for us because we are in the, let's say, in the professional staking space.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I just said it before the interview, right? This feels like a family meeting because everyone from the staking business is here at the summit. So you can talk about professional node operation, you can talk about MV, you can talk about liquid staking, all those topics that are hot at the moment. Exchanging with experts, better understanding the market together. So it's a really good event to be at.
Okay, nice. So for I guess a lot of retail users might be not that familiar with Finoa, so maybe you can give a short summary of what Finoa does in general.
Well, Finoa is an institutional grade and regulated crypto custodian.
Okay. Right.
And we do also offer, like most importantly, staking services to institutional investors that custody their tokens with us.
Okay.
And so what sets us apart, you said it right, we focus on institutional clients. Of course, we're happy to have retail customers as well, but then our offering is really targeted on the requirements that institutions do have.
Okay, right.
And our specialty has always been supporting also early stage ecosystems right from the start. Like we were the first custodian and staking provider to support Near back in the days when it went live, for example.
Yeah.
And
sounds cool. So, as a service provider of staking for institutional investors, what do you provide them that differentiates them from like setting up their own wallet and doing the staking themselves, or like what do you bring to the institutions?
Well, first of all, managing your own wallet
and
staking is hard.
Yeah.
It still is. It's depending on the network, it's very cumbersome to use.
Yeah.
It involves several steps that if you're not really crypto native, and even for crypto natives, are hard to comprehend. So that's one thing. So definitely we make it easy to stake your assets, earn rewards, secure the network and whatever comes with it.
Okay.
At the same time, we take the risk. I mean, what we offer in essence is trust to our customers because we custody the assets. That's number one. And we offer to our customers a trusted set of staking providers that they can then easily delegate to.
Okay. Right. And so, as a provider providing this trust to institutional investors, how does Finoa go about providing that security? Like, what differentiates you from other providers of a similar service?
In terms of the custody service, I think we have a very unique and secure custody solution, which we call a warm wallet because it combines like the security of a cold wallet with the ease of use of a hot wallet. So you can access your assets 24/7. But your keys are secured as in a cold wallet-based solution. We have a unique HSM-based solution there. In terms of staking, well, obviously we have a mix of staking providers. If you think about Finoa Consensus Services, how we run our nodes, we have a very experienced team that has been running staking nodes since years. So we know very well what we do. We stay up to date with market developments. And I mean, basically that's what it boils down to. Our track record speaks for itself. We had an interesting talk on a panel before, which was about metrics are still difficult in the staking space. And we also work together, for example, with staking rewards to make it more transparent, let's say, the performance of staking providers and the nodes that they're operating.
I definitely think there's a lot more that needs to be done in that space. I've been talking to validators a lot over the past few days about how it's hard for users to differentiate between validators. And my opinion is that most people can run a validator at the surface level at the same level, but you don't know the difference between a good and a bad validator until something goes wrong.
That's the point. Yeah.
It's things like redundancy, uptime, that you don't see at the surface level, and it doesn't come into action until something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be a really big next step for educating users about the difference in quality between validators, because it's very hard to see at the surface level.
By the way, probably you can distinguish between good and bad,
Right.
but what's in between? I think that's about. You're right. You have some very rough metrics in terms of, well, that's the APY, that's the average uptime. Those are the rewards that have been generated over time, which is the normal case.
Yes.
Right? So you do know who's okay, and you do know who's obviously bad. Well, when you're staking a lot of assets, you want to understand what's the risk of things going wrong, and what's the impact if things go wrong. And that is not binary anymore, right?
Yes.
And I fully agree with you there. We lack metrics, and some of the metrics are not technical, or let's say they cannot be read from the network itself, but you need to dig deeper and understand how node operators, for example, are actually running their nodes. Where do they run their nodes? What are their disaster recovery practices that they have in place, and so on.
Right. So I'm guessing Finoa has some sort of audit or system that you guys do on the validators that you choose to partner with. Could you give me some more insight into what that process looks like?
Well, we have the advantage of being custody being a regulated business.
Yeah.
So obviously we have lots of risk mitigation strategies and processes in place on our regulated core entity, which is Finoa. So that definitely helps us in auditing our partners, and especially also in setting up. Staking is not yet regulated.
Yes.
For example, so strictly speaking, there are no requirements. But of course, from a risk management perspective, as you said, we want to understand better, and we leverage that to, first of all, set up our services right, and also we know how to run nodes.
Yes.
So we can use this knowledge as well to judge or assess the quality of the node operators that we're partnering with.
Okay. And so, in your opinion, what are the most, if you had to name maybe 3 things that are the most important things that Finoa looks for in a validator when they partner with them?
The 3 most important things.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to say trust, but obviously trust boils down to, well, first of all, past performance, of course.
Right.
How is the operation set up?
Yeah.
What are your ops teams, and what's the experience of those ops teams? And becoming ever more important, what's your coverage for black swan events like slashing?
Yes.
How do you deal with it? We don't expect full slashing coverage at the moment, and nobody, supposedly that is being offered, but to be honest, we haven't seen a huge slashing event where principal has been slashed. So, but in the next year, this will become ever more important because our customers are requiring it more and more.
Okay, makes sense. And from Finoa's perspective, have you been seeing an increase in institutional investment into crypto? Are you allowed to talk about what the institutional view of the market is?
Well, we have always focused on the institutional market. So we've always seen a strong interest in the crypto market, and that hasn't stopped during the bear market. Obviously, the market sentiment has changed since last year.
Yes.
But networks are still going live. Institutional entities have invested in those networks, require trusted custodians and staking providers. And if you look at new ecosystems that have just gone live, like for example on the Move side with Aptos and then Zui next year, obviously interest is still there, it's just less hyped. Right? Again, institutional interest in crypto has not died down, and will pick up even stronger in the next years, I'm absolutely sure.
Okay. Is Finoa in a position to comment on, I guess, cryptos launching as tradable products on, like, let's say a stock market or some type of market? Or what are your thoughts on the regulations around that? Because that's kind of a hot topic. Whether we'll get like a Bitcoin ETF or Ethereum, and like recently the likes of like BlackRock and Fidelity have launched crypto investing to their own institutional investors. So what are your thoughts on the general market?
Well, it's slowly picking up, but there's a lot of regulatory uncertainty still.
Yeah.
So I'm not an expert on that side of things,
Yeah.
but my general take is we need to do a very good job in educating lawmakers.
Yes.
I mean, we're a Germany-based company, but obviously lots of things are currently happening in the US.
Yeah.
And we need to stand together as an industry and educate our lawmakers to
Yeah.
make the best decisions in that case. And this also goes, for example, I mean, trading crypto assets in general probably is not the biggest problem, but we're in the staking summit, and if you look at proof of stake assets, there's still this looming risk of all proof of stake assets potentially being considered as securities.
Yeah.
And that could have I mean, there is a point to it, by the way, depending on the ecosystem, you might have a point there, but overall that could have devastating consequences if decisions are not made wisely by lawmakers, by regulatory bodies.
Right. So are you saying that if proof of stake tokens become a security, it's bad, or it's good that they become a security, but maybe with the right regulations behind them?
Again, I'm not an expert on this, but I think proof of stake tokens are not the same. Like not all of them are the same. Some of the proof of stake tokens obviously are securities.
Yeah.
And then they should be regulated as such. We have regulation for that in place. But again, there's a lot of uncertainty, right? And especially for Ethereum with the merge now, that question became ever more important. Ethereum is by far the most important ecosystem for crypto. So whatever happens to Ethereum will have a significant effect on the rest of the ecosystems. Again, I'm afraid I'm not an expert on that
that's
front.
fine. Okay, and so if an institutional investor watches this and they want to get involved with Finoa, how would they go about doing that, and what do they need to do from their end?
Well, first of all, we do have a website, which is finoa.io. Pretty easy, and that's a very good way to get in touch with us. But I mean,
just the website.
There's the website. We are on Twitter. We are on LinkedIn as usual.
Also,
just get in touch with us. We have a very personal way of dealing with our customers because every customer for us is a special customer. Since we're not dealing with retail, we can focus on every individual customer.
Sounds awesome. And now some personal questions for you. What crypto project are you the most excited for over the next 1 year, 2 years?
Oh, I mean, there are probably two things that are like general developments that I think are really interesting. One is liquid staking in general. I mean, liquid staking, there are lots of products out there, lots of platforms on various networks as well. But I'm really interested to see how this will develop, whether we have protocol-based liquid staking or like, I expect liquid staking to be absolutely pervasive in proof of stake networks, but I don't know how exactly. So that's certainly very interesting. And then the second big topic, of course, is MEV. I mean, we really see this playing out now with since the merge on Ethereum, and there are some things we need to worry about in terms of centralization, for example. But if you would like two major developments, not single projects that I'm really excited about are, of course, MEV and liquid staking, and maybe you can see the symbol here, for example, from OBOL, distributed validator technology. Because that's also one way to make staking more reliable. Decrease the risk of slashing events, for example. How that's going to play out in the next year or two is also going to be very interesting to see.
Yep, for sure. And the hardest question, the most controversial, which project are you the most, which project do you think is the most overrated at the moment?
At the moment?
At the moment, yeah.
A year ago? Oh,
but all time. Which is the most overrated project?
I mean, I don't want to make enemies here. Right.
You have to pick one. No enemies, no hard feelings.
1 year ago, I would have said Cardano.
Okay, all right.
But I mean, since interest there has died down quite a bit, I really hope, by the way, everything's working out fine for Cardano.
Yeah.
So again, I don't want to talk bad about anyone, but especially, I always thought the war, so-called, between Ethereum of Cardano was both very unnecessary and just not realistic, because there's one Ethereum and there are all the other networks, in my opinion. Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. Thanks so much for the interview.
Thank you.
It was really nice. Awesome.